stop. Before you do anything else, guys, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel before we get started. That way I can know that you guys like this kind of content and you want to see more of this. If you like doing gear reviews, app reviews, hunting stuff, reviews in general, please like this video and hit subscribe. And without further ado, guys, let's get into this video. What is going on, Predators? Today we're going to do a quick check-in with a new hunting app that's hit the market, and it's really been very impressive from what I've seen from initial videos online and everything. I wanted to go through and do just kind of a very initial impressions video to just check out the app and to kind of see what I think. So I would be comparing this to Onyx, Hunt Stand, Base Map, and some of the other very popular apps out there for hunting, outdoors, land management, and all this kind of stuff. So that's what I'm going to be looking at today. Is going to be the Spartan Forge app. This thing looks really impressive because it has a lot of scientific data built into it, where they've been tracking deer and the movements of deer and everything, and kind of in different areas, and they've applied this into this app so you can kind of track when their movement's going to be and where their movement's going to be. It's going to be really interesting to see. Okay, guys, we're going to get right into it here. We're going to jump into the Spartan Forge app. All right, so this is where we land. We go straight to the map here. It's going to zoom in on the area in which you're currently at. I'm not going to dox myself here, so I've kind of adjusted it here already. But just let's get an overview of what we're looking at here initially in the map. So you can see we up in the corner here, we've got our map scale, and this is going to be, in miles, right? So I got 0, 20, and 40 miles I got laid out here. I can see just from the color of the map here that it's a very nice contrasting map. So you can see as we go into East Texas, without even having to add any layers or anything, I can see all the dense forest in the east part of Texas over here going into Louisiana. I can see as I go more into the central Texas area, going towards West Texas, you can see that it gets a lot more desert looking. This is very accurate just from this sky view of the map here, which is amazing here. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit to one of the properties I hunt at. Okay, now that I'm here, I'm at my hunting area. One thing I want to do is I want to see if I can start a hunting area here. And this is kind of what I'm used to with Hunt Stand and everything, where I can save a specific area. So let's go to the menu and see what options we have. So you see I got my thing logged in there. So this is, we'll just note, this is version 1.8 of the app here. So it's in the early stages, and it's going to add a lot more information in the future, I think. All right, so initially when I will look at the compass roads here, I've got of the pointing north here, that red arrow, the orange arrow there is pointing north. So it's going to let me know which direction on the map is north. You can see I got a blue arrow surrounding that, and that's kind of cool because that's a built-in wind gauge. So it's telling me the direct wind direction at this time where my crosshair is there. So you can see it's got a little bit of a easterly wind going there, northeast. All right. So over here, once I swipe on this button here, that gives me the ability to go between different maps types. So first, you see the satellite there. So this is just a satellite map. I swipe once I'm swiping to the right. This is the land ownership here. Okay. So I can get all the different land and parcel information there. I swipe again. All right. This tells you about what type of land you've got there. I'm guessing it's a shrub land. It says evergreen forest, but I guess there is some evergreen in that area. So, and there's a bunch of shrubs of what they call, we call them mesquite shrubs in that area, little short, small mesquite trees. So that's kind of cool. This is really good for checking out different kinds of agriculture, So was there any kind of lots nearby that are certain farmland or anything like that? This is a farm right here, but it doesn't really show what it's made of. It's mostly just grass right now. Let's see, down the road here, I think there is a farm. So it's not super specific data, but it's pretty generalized here. So as I'm guessing, it goes by the topographic information off of it or something like that. But yeah, it's basically, this is a farm here with some agriculture on it, and this guy usually plants, I think he plants alfalfa or soybeans right here. I think it's alfalfa. but it still just says that it's shrubland, so it's not bad, especially for public land. It's going to be pretty consistent there. Obviously on a farmer's land, it's going to be a little bit less consistent, you know, because it's got it's going to be a little bit less consistent on farming land because you got seasonal crops and things like that, so it's going to change a lot. But overall, this is going to be really good for public land because it's going to have that data basically on what are you looking at. Are you looking at a forest? You're looking at just short shrubs and things like that. So interesting data there. So let's go to the next. This is the satellite plus the topo map here, so it combines the two layers into one. So that's pretty cool. Very typically what you think. Accuracy looks good. It also kind of highlights a little bit the area. It looks like it changed the time of year that the map is updated there, so I don't know. Nice high contrast map though. We're going to go in just a second and we're going to check out the detail there. And then lastly, I've got just a topo map here. So GPS, boundaries, we've got the farming or agriculture map, the satellite plus topo, and then we got the topo by itself. So I'm going to use this one right here. So let's go ahead and zoom in and look at some detail here of this area. Okay, so we're pretty zoomed in there. I can go really far, like excessively far, where it can literally show, it's showing 3 to 6 feet, 2 to 4 feet. I mean, that's a little excessive, right? So I like that it has that option. Let's do like about a 50 to 100 feet here. The map quality is okay. I think they could improve it a little bit. I mean, it's got up to about 100 feet. It's got a okay resolution. It gets a little pixelated right here where it's hard to see. So for comparison, I can bring up that same spot on Hunt Stand, which is kind of, if you watch my other video, I'll put a link up here, wherever, that showed that comparison video I did between the big three hunting apps, and found that on an average Hunt Stand was actually much more accurate than the other ones. Sorry, much more detailed and accurate than the other ones. So you can see the same map. I'll kind of switch between the apps here. So you can see with Hunt Stand, I feel like the map is much higher resolution. Looks like it's got a lot sharper detail. And so I'm going to switch back over here to Spartan Forge, and you can see the lack of resolution there. Okay, so again here, similar zoom level, you can see that shadow and you can see everything on that. Okay. Kind of switch between the apps here. You see the detail difference between the two apps there. So this app's got some work to do there initially as far as clarity goes, but overall I like the contrast of the map. So the color contrast is really nice. So if I hit this button down here, that little button right there, that is going to take me right back to my current location. That way I can find where I am on the map. I'm not going to do that right now though. Okay, let's look at the bottom bar down here. So first I've got journal. Okay. And this is where I can add journal entries, so it's kind of cool. It's I like this idea because it's something you can place. You know, hey, while I was doing this thing, I noticed this. You know, I was out here, I was refilling the feeders, and I noticed that there's a whole bunch of buck rubs right here in this area. I was out scouting this location, and I saw this while I was out there. So really cool that you can write this. Adds a GPS location, and you can add a pin on the map for that journal location there. If you did a harvest here, you can also write that. So I can harvest, say I did rifle, bow, shotgun, muzzleloader, pistol, primitive bow, recurve bow, long bow, compound bow. So pretty cool that it's got that. I can add deer. I guess it's very specifically for deer as opposed to some of the other apps have other options as far as like, deer, turkey, javelina, pig, predators, other things like that. It's very focused on deer, so very deer heavy focus there. Let's see if we can delete it. So I hit that. Okay, so I can publish it if I want to. All right, let's go to the map here again. Sorry, let's go next to the Intel. All right, so it says very good weather report here. So under Intel, I've got a weather report. It's all kind of lumped into one tab. A lot of information lumped into one tab here, okay? So I've got the wind at 6 miles per hour, shows me the date, shows me the approximate location. That's wrong, but it's close enough. That's where the crosshair is pointing there, nearest address anyways. Shows me the pressure of milligrams of mercury, which is good, and it shows whether it's up or whether it's down, so it's a decreasing or increasing pressure. Humidity, 64%. Love the amount of information here. So it's very short, very cut to the brief, but it's very accurate. The moon shows not only the current temperature, but it shows the moon percentage. So there's 40%, 50%, whatever it is. This is really important where I hunt because the weather is usually very mild. And so that makes it to where whenever the moon is out all night, the deer are going to be sitting in the deer are going to be out moving and eating. Whereas a lot of places, whenever there's a full moon, they're trying to hide from predators and things like that. Or usually they're more weather dependent. You know, whenever the weather changes, they're going to get out and move whenever it gets colder and things like that. Where I'm at though, where I hunt, it's here in Texas, it's usually pretty mild. And so that means that they can pretty much go out anytime they want and eat. When it's super, super dark outside, even though the skies are very clear out there where I hunt, whenever the moon is out, it gives them a lot more light to see by. And if I know that the moon was out all night, then I'm not going hunting in the morning because I know that they are not going to be showing up. I mean, it is like I could set my watch to it. It's so clear. I'll still go out there sometimes if I've only got like 2 days to hunt, you know, on a weekend or something like that. I'll still go out there because, you know, you can't shoot anything from the couch. But it kind of sets my expectations on what I'm going to see there. So moonrise, moonset, sunrise, sunset are very important things. Those are all listed out there. It shows you what time the moon's going to be overhead and underfoot, which is cool. Here we go. So here's on the weather forecast. So I can say forecast Tuesday through Wednesday, Saturday, so I can see exactly what it's going to look like around there. So it's movement. It says they're going to be in a transition area. What is CA? Let's see. Let's look at the information. So core area means this is where they like live, their core area here. So deer are likely to remain close to their bedding areas. That's where the red GPS markers are. In daylight hours, overall movement will be less than average, making a successful encounter more difficult. So if they're in their core area, it means they're kind of like sticking close to their bedding area. Transition area, deer will likely travel beyond their core areas on the yellow GPS fixes during the daylight hours, but will remain short of their full range. A transition area forecast predicts average movement. Full range, deer likely cover more ground and travel their full range in daylight hours. Overall movement will be greater than average, making successful encounter more likely. So green for full range is good. Transition area gives you a little bit more movement, meaning they're going to be transitioning from one area to the next. So you will see buck movement or deer movement in general. And then core areas, we're going to be like, okay, I'm not moving, I'm not leaving much. So it looks like it's going to be a transition area for most of the week. Core area, so the hunting looks like it's going to be pretty bad Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here. We're in this area. So let's go look at the patterns. So the pattern information. So let's start at normal. So deer will likely follow the most observed pattern with respect to position and time of day. Normal pattern is equivalent to most predictable. Patterns are situation specific and must be learned over time through observation under multiple conditions. That's kind of like a disclaimer. So it may not be the most accurate information out there, but it's somewhat reliable based on data that's been gathered. Expect deer to behave consistent with previous observations. So whenever they were gathering all this data from here, supposedly they were able to get with biologists and they were able to track the actual movement of these deer or some deer in certain areas, depending on the location and the different aspects of that, like the weather and things like that, over a number of years. And so they were able to correlate that data into how the deer are going to move based on all the situational factors that are going there. I'm curious to see, because deer act very different in very different areas. I'm curious to find out as I go through this app more, and we'll be using it more and doing more videos on this. I'm curious to see exactly how that data correlates to every area. So let's move on, go to abnormal. So deer will likely deviate from their normal movement patterns, but only partially. A deviation can be a difference in location or a difference in arrival or departure time from a usual location. Expect some unpredictability in deer behavior, okay? And then very abnormal. Deer will likely completely deviate from previously observed patterns with respect to location and time of day. Very abnormal pattern is equivalent to most unpredictable. Expect deer travel at unexpected times, unexpected routes. So if you know that every morning these deer are typically, like you see them on the cameras, and they're typically coming through the same areas, very abnormal would mean that this is going to throw them off of that normal route. Whereas normal would be like, okay, like if you see them at this time, you're probably going to still see them at that time. Abnormal would mean like you may see them at this time, you may not, okay? So it looks like it can be very abnormal the entire week. So that's kind of odd, like a lot of very abnormal movement. Might be because the rut is winding down. It's getting to the end of the year here. Like I say, you can see it's almost the 30th here, so we'll be, or sorry, almost the end of the year. So that could be one of the things that's changing, is the weather's starting to change. In our area, the weather's, right now it's hot, it's warm, so it's like 78, 80 degrees around here. Or what is it, 70 degrees right now. It's been like 80 degrees in the past week. But now in like, I think Sunday it's supposed to be getting down into like 30 degrees or so. So yeah, it's changing a lot, really in flux. So I want to say I just love the amount of data in here. I got a little slider here so I can change this, you know, to really see that number, those numbers change. So really cool, really interesting that it's got so much information and is backed by a lot of data. It's just not like hypotheticals or, you know, my uncle said this, backed by a lot of data, which is really, really helpful. I get a forecast here. What does this do? Okay, so I can open each day in the forecast by hitting that button. That's great. And then, like I say, next rut dates. It says peak breeding. Yep, so that was basically for this area. It even has peak breeding, secondary peak breeding area, December 4th. So all that rut is kind of over for right now. So very interesting. Lots of data all in this one tab here. I'm curious to see if they decide to break this out into more tabs. Like HuntStand has a bunch of individual tools separated out, so I can apply those to a map in a bunch of different ways, whereas this seems to be all very compact in one little screen here, which can be really nice whenever you're trying to do fast stuff in the woods. You can jump to that one tab and then go straight over there. You don't have to. I guess it'd be nicer to have those broken out if you're trying to be fast, because I can go to that one tool and just deal with that information. But I do love the amount of information they have in here. I do think it'd be helpful, just my personal opinion, to, well, I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether it'd be helpful to have that information separated out, where the movement and the patterns and all this stuff is separated out into one, or into different tab, or if it all needs to be correlated with the weather and everything like that, because it's kind of calculating a lot of this stuff for me. I'm no expert on the deer movement out there. I know what I've seen and what I've seen on cameras, but I don't know exactly all this stuff. So to be curious to see as we go forward, how that interacts with reality, I guess you'd say. So I got a historical forecast here. Under this, it shows me in the last 2 weeks the wind speed and the wind direction, and this is pretty true. It usually is very consistent. There are times a year where it can have like swirling winds where it will literally just blow out of any direction that feels like, but pretty consistently. We've had some good strong winds recently over there. So all the historical weather data, that's good. Let's see, until 2019. So this is really cool. So public land, 1%, 1.5 million acres. Largest tracts, Davy Crockett, Sabine. We got the Sam Houston National Forest is a big one too. You forgot about that one. Granger Wildlife Management Area is a notable place. That's really good public hunting, especially for pigs and predators. I still need to go check that out, honestly. Sam Houston National Forest wildlife. That's what I was just saying, and they added the largest tract, because I think that the Davy Crockett is smaller than the Sam Houston National Forest. But anyways. So this is really cool, just another bunch of data about a bunch of information, records. That's really cool. I love this Intel tab, and I think this is the thing that sets Spartan Forge apart from a lot of the other apps out there, is how much data and how much intel they've got on all this deer movement, all this place. I got a lot of this stuff in HuntStand, but it doesn't have like the records. It doesn't have these, deer hunters. I do have a lot more information about that specific tract of land, so I can touch on a piece of land in HuntStand and literally say, okay, this is made up of this type of soil. This is the soil content. This is what type of trees are there. So that's really cool. But this is a lot of different type of data, and so I'm really, really impressed by this, man. So I can also browse, look at other states. Sorry. So I can also look here at this text, and this is back from 2019, so this is almost 4 years old now. So I think they should update this more frequently. Again, new app, they're still giving this data, so I'll give them some time. But this is really cool too. This is so important here, guys, because this is going to tell you exactly what the browse or the food that the deer are eating, because this very, very specifically focuses on deer, it seems. but what a lot of the animals are going to be eating there in that area. Is it accurate? I mean, this is very generalistic. This is whole statewide. This is not specific to the area I'm looking at. Scrolling here is a little bit of a issue. It's sticking. It's a little bit of a bug there. There we go. Now it's working. But yeah, we do have a lot of these beauty berries. I don't know why it's on there twice. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is more East Texas right here. There's like these trumpet creepers, beauty berries and stuff like that. That's a little bit more East Texas. We don't have those very much at all in Central Texas. I don't think we might have some of that kidney wood. I'm not sure. Star jasmine, don't have that. Inland current. So a lot of this stuff is going to be, Texas is a very large state and it's very unique compared to a lot of the other states as far as how the management and everything goes. And where, because literally we have just in Texas, we have about every ecosystem that you can imagine across the United States. We have it here in the state. We've got the deserts, we've got the tall wooded forests, we've got the, you know, kind of brushy like desert Southern California kind of looking hills and stuff like that. So we've got a huge vast, we've got a very interesting, only thing we don't have really is forested mountains, but everything else we've pretty much got here. So anyways, really cool that it has all this data here. So much information, hard and soft mass. This is where it's going to be the important stuff here. So post oak, mesquite beans, we got a lot of those in Central Texas, okay? Prickly pear, Central Texas, a lot of those there. The deer don't eat really the prickly pear or the mesquite beans very much unless there's nothing else around, because there's a lot of oak trees around that Central Texas area too, so that's going to usually be the most common thing. Post oak, there's also some live oaks and stuff like that around there, so that's going to be their main thing that they're browsing on if they're not being fed by, you know, protein feeders and corn feeders and things like that for their carbohydrates and protein samples. So anyways, really cool, lots of information on the intel there, and we will be going through this more and using it. So my content, let's see, it's empty, so I can look at pins, I can look at deer and tracks. So let's go ahead and add a button here. So I'm gonna drop a pin right here, see if I can mark what I can mark here. All right, so I dropped a pin. Didn't look like it went exactly, yeah, pretty close to where I want. So I can choose a color. All right, so I'm gonna start with yellow, so I can see it really good. Gives me the GPS location. I'm gonna say this is a feeder. Nope. Okay. Structures, food. So those is kind of interesting. I can choose that. So let's go through all this. So I got animals. Okay, so I got deer, elk and mule deer, and I've got turkey. So I got, it's pretty cool. So I got a bait. I can just call it that, I guess. It's not really a bait, it's more of a feeder, but close enough. Okay, I got bedding areas, bedding cans, trail cans. Okay, I can add some of that to it. Cool. So it's under elk and mule deer. So arrow, that's where if I shot it and I found the arrow, that would be there. Blood trails, camps, cow elk, elk shed, all this stuff here. Glassing area, horseback, and roll. I guess it'd be if you're marking a horseback trail. Really cool that's got that there. Turkey, you got blind journal, photo, roost tree, turkey hen, turkey jake, turkey strut. So gobbler. So I think they call it a tom. Anyways, so really cool under animals, food. So I got hard mast, soft mast. You can look at these. So these are all the different options under hard mast. Soft mast, this is basically softer things like droppings from trees and stuff like that that are like fruit and edible things like that, like persimmons, you know, apples and whatnot. Crop, ooh, alfalfa. Thinking about planting some alfalfa this year. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, so lots of good stuff there. Okay, we might be planting some clover too, so we'll see how all that grows. Scouting. So we got access areas, alfalfa arrows, beet, blood, brassica. So really cool bunch of stuff there. Here's all the stuff for the terrain. I like it. Really good for that. And structures. Okay, and these are like parking sites, things like that. It doesn't seem like the add photo button's working for some reason, but it's a little bug. I'm sure they'll fix it. So yeah, basically I got that all set up there. I got my things selected here and I place pin. There we go. So let's see the interactivity of this pin. So it's right next to that feeder. Actually, yeah, that's it. So it's right next to the feeder there. Oops, accidentally hit the back button. Let's go back to my content. Okay. All right, so there's my pin. I would touch it. I can see whatever it is. I can edit it. Okay. Update it. All right. So I kind of wish here, just as a personal preference, I wish that they would make it to where when I first touch it, I can just view everything and I have to hit something to change it and edit it, because I don't want to accidentally make changes, especially if I'm like, you know, carrying a bunch of stuff and I'm hitting buttons here. And if I touch that pin, I want to see the information from that pin, but maybe not edit it right away. Right, so I can change, and if I close it, does it save? No, it doesn't, so it reverts. So that's good. Let's say I do this, I exit. So it's still staying there. But then whenever I selected it, so it's a little bit of a bug there. So if I select something else and I close it, but I don't update that pin, it stays there like that, right? But then whenever I touch it again, then it switches back to what it was. And I have to hit update pin down here in order to change it permanently. But it still changes it. Anyways, you'll see what I mean. But guys, yeah, so that's really good. I like the amount of information that it gives you. I do wish that, again, that it would kind of lock it in, and maybe it would just give me the basic information about this. And then instead of update pin, maybe if there was edit, so I can edit it, and then it would allow me to delete it or update it from there. That way I can see the information without accidentally changing something, but that's just a personal preference there. Okay. These, that right there, that white line is a trail that goes around here. Looks like it goes the wrong way, but that's okay. And let's see, let's take a look at something else. Let's take another pin here. So like for now, I want to add, let's say I want to add that as pond, right? So I put a pin, let's put a pin right there. And I'm going to say that this is the pond here. So I've got a lot more pins here. Kind of like base map where I didn't realize that you could scroll on it and go, you got a lot more down here. So let's look, you've got doe. I'm just gonna show these on the thing. I'm not gonna read all of them, but you can see all of these really great. I've got tons and tons of pins here. Man, that's really impressive. Let's go back here. Oh wow, look at that. I've got tons and tons of pins there. And that's about all I've got for that. But let's see. Rub. Some of these, I don't know why that rub looks funny, that icon there. So obviously it's a very focused app, and it's got a very narrow focus on what it's trying to provide here. And most of that is going to be information about deer and deer hunting. It does obviously have elk stuff on there as well, so it has some usefulness outside of that, and some usefulness would be hunting out west and things like that. But the main focus here is going to be deer. So last couple things I got here are under tools here. Under the tools section, I've got measurements. So let's see how it measures an area here. Okay, so I can measure distance or area, so plus, and then I drag it, and I hit plus, and it gives me an exact 158 yards, okay? I can name that line and I can save it. That's nice. I can do area as well. So I can mark, you know, a certain area if I needed to see this, and it'll tell me how many acres. It's not bad. I wish I could change units on here. It doesn't look like I can, but that's okay. All right, so the last thing we're gonna do with this quick introduction to the Spartan Forge app is we're gonna do a measurement calibration test. And so basically what I've done is I've zoomed in to the local high school football stadium, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure from the end zone of one to the other and just see how accurate this line measurement is. So previously I did a video about the calibration of the different apps and to see which one was the most accurate. If you like that video, you can check it out over there. I'm going to do an update here pretty soon to see which one again is going to be the most accurate. But yeah, so here we go. I'm going to take this and I'm going to start. I'm going to add a line right there. So we'll go and so So with the other apps, it seems like whenever I start dragging this line out, it actually follows it. So I can see, okay, 5 yards, 10 yards, 20 yards. Let's see, let's go here. Okay, add a spot there, 10 yards. Great. All right, let's remove that. And so again, I can't edit the line. I wish it would. I guess I can step back. Yeah, I can step back. Never mind, I changed that. All right, so let's start there. So looks like I found a little bug here. So now I'm hitting the plus button, but it's not adding. Hi, cat. My daughter's cat in here. Freaking adorable. Go away, too cute. All right, so again, it's not adding a line here anymore. So all I did was I added a line, and then I hit the back arrow to undo that, and I'm kind of stuck now, it won't work. So let's exit out of the tool. Let's come back in, measurements. All right, let's try this again. So I'm gonna add a point there, now it works. And let's do 8 yards. So that would be 8 yards right there. Perfect, okay. So exit the tool. All right, re-enter the tool. Now let's try all the way to 100 yards. So there's 1 point right there. I love the crosshair. I don't like trying to tap and drag lines or tap on the screen because it's not nearly as accurate. And this right here should be 100 yards if the app is accurate. Let's see right there. Boom. And I have to zoom. So it's kind of silly. Now I have to go back to the middle of the line because it only puts that in the middle of the line, okay? So yeah, the measurement's accurate, but there's some user interface things that I could improve. Like whenever I put this here, it should tell me somewhere other than at the very bottom, right down there, it's kind of hidden down there. You see that? It says 100 yards, but it'd be nice if it said it on the line right here. Just, I don't know, kind of nitpicking or whatever, but okay. So the last two other tools we've got here, one is going to be the record my track tool and the orienteering mode. So the orienteering mode is where I'm holding this in my hand and I'm walking, and it's always going to keep the direction I'm facing pointed straight up the map. So that's really nice if you're actually walking in the woods or walking through the mountains and you're trying to see exactly where you are and where you're going. That's really nice to have. Make sure you bring an extra battery for that, because by trying to follow it that way, you're going to be adding a whole level of battery drain to it. Record my track. Record my track is where it does a similar thing, but it's also going to record that as a line on your path so you can see where you've been, which is really helpful to find out how to get back to where you started. So, all right, so that's it for now, guys. We're going to talk a little bit more about this. We're going to test it and use it in the field. We're going to use this out at the ranch. We're going to see how well this works for all the different things that I use it for. And I hope this was a great introduction to the app and all the different features that it has. We will be seeing more of this app very soon. Oh, wait, before we end this video, I want to thank you for watching this far. Go ahead and hit the like button over there, hit the subscribe button too, because that's how we grow this channel. So thank you guys, and as always, keep defying the odds.